Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds podcast. I'm your host tonight, Topher Sheeler. I'm joined by my co-host, the one and only Jared Bayless.
What's up?
We have another Blue Collar Connect spotlight for you. We got Teddy Royer here tonight of Callus Welding and Fabrication. This dude has so much knowledge. He's got one heck of a story. There's a teaser halfway through that you need to wait for this story. You got anything to say about our guest tonight?
I'm just excited to learn a little bit about Teddy. He's got a great mindset, and I think I have a lot to learn about business from him. Very knowledgeable, and I can't wait to get to know him.
Well, you guys know the drill. Let us get a quick word from the sponsor, and we'll jump right in.
Welcome to the American Masterminds podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Logic.
What if the water your kids drink every day wasn't as clean as you think? Invisible contaminants, lead, arsenic, PFAS can slip through ordinary filters. With Blue Logic's whole home purification, you remove up to 99.8% of what shouldn't be there. Give your family water that's as pure as your love for them. Call now or visit BlueLogicWater.com to schedule your free in-home water test. Because what touches your family every day should never be left to chance. Blue Logic Water, pure protection for the ones you love most.
Teddy, why don't you tell us kind of how you got to having your own company? What's kind of the background story?
All right. So unfortunately, that's one of the first corrections I have for everyone is it's not my company. All right. So that's one thing I'm very clear about for a couple of reasons. And I'll get into those in a minute. So Callus Welding Fabrication is the company that I run. It's a weld shop, fabrication shop, full service. It's a part of a larger company, Jones Excavation. It's out of West Jordan, Utah, a great company to work for. How we ended up where we're at is I hired on 2017. So almost 9 years ago, it'll be 9 years in July, I hired on as a repair welder for Jones Excavating. We had a little shop. Our job was to keep the machines running. Everything from hard-facing buckets to fixing trailers to building random tools that were needed for the various jobs. Jones as a whole has an excavation, shoring, and drilling side. So it's not a large company, but it's a well-established company. Been around for 60, 70, 80 years. I can't remember what the number is. So I joke around that my job description at the time, and I'm not joking, but was trying to fix stupid. And as a repair welder, that's essentially what you're trying to do. Is your job is to fix stupid. Maybe 10% is doing fun new things. The rest of it is,
Hey, I broke this.
actually, I would love to hear I broke this. This is broken. We don't know how it happened.
It's a mystery.
Oh,
how did it happen?
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
no idea.
I parked it last night. I showed up to work and it's broken. And so, so like I said, trying to fix stupid, trying to eliminate gremlins from the system essentially. And there's some doozies. If we have time, we can talk about some of those. But so I did that for 2, 3, 4 years. I don't have an exact timeline. It all kind of just merged. And at the time, like every welder does, you talk to any welder that works anywhere, you have your day job and then you have your moonlight jobs on the weekends that you try to bring in a little extra money. And so I was doing some of those. I like the more artistic side of metal work. So I was doing signs and a few other things that I enjoy doing that. But I'd be doing that after hours. I live out in Tooele County out in Stansbury Park. So it's about a 45-minute on a good day, 2-hour bad day commute. And so I'd be staying late at the shop doing whatever and then getting home late, family, kids, all that stuff. And it's like, I'm, a couple $100 here and there, at what cost, right? One of the big things that family's always been a very huge part for me. And that's the why behind everything is family. So it's like, hey, I can earn an extra $200 tonight and not see my kids until tomorrow evening. Cause by the time I get home, they're in bed. I leave before they wake up. And so it was kind of one of those balances. Okay. What makes sense? And so, when I got hired on, there's basic things in the metal shop. It's just pretty basic. We had a dinosaur of a plasma table that could kind of cut geometric shapes, kind of sort of, and a few other a welder bands. So very very quintessential. I call it a farmer's weld shop. And so one of the first things I did when I hired on with the company, I was like, hey, why don't we have an actual CNC plasma out here? for a lot of stuff we're doing for these parts and other stuff, it makes a lot of sense. And the owners were like, well, we've thought about it, but we don't have anyone to run it. And I said, okay, let's buy it and I'll run it. And at the time, I finally convinced them they're like, okay, shop around a little bit. And so I shopped for the ones I wanted, and they were up, $200,000, $300,000 type tools. And I got laughed at. They're like, oh, we don't need that. And so I finally found I'm going to call it a high-end garage model, which is being generous, table that we were able to bring in with a little bit of an upgraded power source. So we were able to cut pretty beefy material we at the time. And yeah, within a couple of days, I sat down, read the manual, figured out how to run it, good training. And so within the first month, no one could believe we had lived without this CNC machine. It was fantastic. And the shop foreman, as well as the owners of the company, who are all very skeptical of that change, saw what it did. And it was, for such a small, and at the time, this was 7 years ago, CNC plasma, it's I won't say it's an old technology, but it's been around for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's not new. But for that shop, it was. And so that was a huge step forward in the shop. And they saw, okay, this makes sense. And so a lot of these moonlighting projects I was doing were because of the improvements I made with the shop. So fast forward 3-4 years, I kind of made the decision. It's like, it doesn't make sense to do moonlighting jobs and miss out on family. A couple $100 here and there isn't worth missing out on the hugs and the I love you dads and stuff like that. So I went and chatted with one of the owners. I'm like, hey, so here's the deal. I have so many jobs, XYZ. I want to do them, but I don't want to stay late. And my responsibilities within the Jones structure have been met. Like, no, I'm pushing a broom right now. It's not bad use of time, but it's not the best use of time. And so they're like, okay, so what do you want to do? I'm like, well, let me just do these on the clock. Obviously, my Jones responsibility is taken care of. I'm not putting that out at all. But let me do it on the clock, and we'll process it through the company. Jones, I just like it would any other business. I get my paycheck, and we go about our lives. That way I get to do on the clock what I want to do. And I'm not sacrificing my family time or any of that stuff. So we did that for a couple of years, just small jobs here and there. And it just kind of, the jobs started to get a little bit bigger, and to the point where it's like, okay, so now these external jobs are actually impacting my Jones time. And so what does that look like? So about 3 or 3.5 years ago, we actually had another guy come on board with Jones as another estimator who started to help me grow the shop, as well as the other shop foreman, the repair shop foreman at the time. We kind of created this little collaboration of people still taking care of Jones, but also doing other work. And it kind of just went from there. That dynamic fluctuated here and there. And about 2 years ago, it was kind of like, hey, either we need to try to do something or we don't do something. Or we just kind of just say, okay, this was fun. Let's go back to work the way it was. So at that time, it was kind of like, hey, I guess we're doing something. And so about a year ago, or a year and a half ago now, we went out to Fab Tech out in Chicago. It is, if you're at all a manufacturing guy or find any of that stuff fascinating, it is like, I've never been to Disneyland, but I'm going to compare it to that. It's a Disneyland of metal workers. You walk in and it's, I can't remember what the venue is, but it's a big old conference and expo center. And just massive. And so we wandered around that with, jaws on the floor. Like, you think what's out there based off TikTok, Instagram, and all that stuff. And when you get to all these booths that are actually displaying it, it's just phenomenal. I joke around saying we went out to just look around, and we had a press break, follow us home. So the owner was out there with us, and we were talking one night, in the hotel trying to figure out, I was like, hey, what does this look like? What are we doing out here? And we're like, it's kind of like, okay, we have all these options. Well, this one right here looks like it might actually be able to apply to the Jones excavating side as well as external stuff too. So all decisions were being made with how many boxes can it check. So we brought home a 140-ton, 10-foot bed press brake, which is, for bending and shaping metal. And that came home with us. I joke that we didn't. It was one of the first spontaneity buys for the business, so that we all just kind of got caught up in. And right away we put it to work, just bending sheet metal, making parts and stuff like that. And it started to be like, okay, this is cool. And now how do we feed this monster that we created? Because this machine has this capability, but we don't have the ability to technically feed it the way it needs to. And so that's where, fast forward a couple more years, we started investing more and more and more. And it has gotten to the point where, okay, Callus needed to happen. to be able to actually go somewhere with this. So Callus is a Jones Excavating company, but it is at this point it's its own entity within the bigger business. And where I come in is the owners are phenomenal. There's I have worked for several other companies, and at no point in time have I ever had the freedom or opportunities or the trust of the owners to be like, hey, what do you think you need to do? Why do you want to do it that way? Okay, make it happen. So I guess title wise, I despise titles, but I'm technically the general manager of Callus Fabrication, which just means that I have to answer for anything that happens and make sure that there's a good answer at the end of it. So, and as long as that happens, we're golden. And thankfully we've been kind of doing it full time for about 2.5 years, and I haven't been fired yet. So that's a good thing. So it's my baby. I joke around with some people saying, yeah, I started my own company with an angel investor, which I won't lie is a kind of a lucky place to have fallen into with that situation. But at the same time, it's always a little bit hard because I'm now running a small company inside a bigger company that has its own, some bureaucratic, that's not even the right word, but red tapes and processes involved, because that's the way it is. We're part of a bigger whole, but we're our own structure within it, which is it's an interesting place to be. As I talk to other business owners, as a business owner, as you guys know, you have kind of carte blanche. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, this is what's best for the company. This is what's best for me. You do it, right? That's why some of this networking stuff is kind of a little bit on the difficult side for me, because I don't have to look in the mirror. I have to look at ownership and be able to like, hey, this 4 hours I spent networking on Friday is beneficial because X, Y. And so it is, as you guys, I've only been a part of blue collar for a little bit and seen the benefits of it. And I've only been, dipping toes in, but it's sometimes at the end of the day, it's like, oh crap, I got to go talk to them and be like, hey, so you'll notice I don't have any billable hours for all of Friday, but I promise I was doing something, worthwhile. So, but no, like I said, that's where I'm blessed, whatever you're lucky, whatever term you want to use for it, is to have fallen into that situation where I was able to prove a point and make it happen with the support of the bigger company as a whole. So it's a lot of rambling, but that's Callus. We are a metal fab shop, part of a bigger company. We stay in our lane where possible, especially in blue collar, right? But part of a much a bigger company, and that allows us the ability to grow and have a different clientele than some of the other fab shops. You got Triad Peaks, you got Brett's Rocky Mountain, Rocky Mountain. So where they're at, and that's one of the things that I'm going to use the word leverage. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Is we've been able to invest in some of the machines and stuff, with the lasers, the stuff I've been posting, because we are part of a bigger one. We're still a small shop, but we have a little bit of that backing. And that's what I'm trying to pass on to not only the guys we got here, but other small fab shops in the valley here that don't have the infrastructure money or whatever for some of these machines. Is yes, there are large laser cutting operations here in Salt Lake. There's Fibronation. There's Wasatch Laser. There's a handful of these bigger companies that are they're laser production shops, right? And so you send them the file, they cut it, happy go lucky. But one of the things that I offer is we are a fab shop with lasers, and the difference is when Zane or a customer comes to us and say, "Hey, we need these," we don't just take it at face value and say, "Okay, we're going to cut it." And hope it's right. So we work through what they actually need, and we try to help other. I tell people we essentially want to be your offsite shop location. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the areas I've been focusing on for the last about 6 months, is almost more of a part production for other shops. Yes, we can weld. Yes, we do all that stuff, and we have to. We got to make money. But some of the things I enjoy most is working with other customers and helping them function as if they have those tools in that shop. And so it's an interesting place to be in, because at that point in time, I think one of the first times I met Zane and we were talking to each other, or Cody, not Zane, sorry, Cody. And I joked around, like, I hate customers. I hate clients who who have to we were talking before, the customer who wants that really nice, pretty metal art piece, and you have to deal with them every step of the way. I can't say I hate them, because that's
it's harsh.
That's an ultimate statement, but they can be very frustrating dealing with those types of customers. So instead, I enjoy it when I can work with other fab shop people. So they deal with the end user. I will help you and then I don't have to deal with the end user. And it keeps life more interesting. So that's one of the like I said, the targets over the last 6 months that I've been trying to focus on and expand Callus as a whole is, yes, we still do all of our welding, and we do our handrails, we do our metal walls, we do stair, whatever needs to be done. But me personally, I like helping other people reach their goals and their achievements. I don't know if it's because I don't want to deal with the end user, which might be that, or I also enjoy helping other people along their tracks when it's applicable. So I have, at this point in time, maybe 30% of our revenue right now is coming from other fab shops, not as competitors, but as helping them out and helping them meet their goals. And so now there's several shops I deal with that they want to grow. But right now, one of the hardest things in the market is finding good workers.
Yep.
Workers you can afford, and small shops like TikTok's fantastic for causing issues, because there's all these weld schools that post their videos of these kids in school and hey professor so and so, how much do you think this weld is worth? And a guy will come over, oh, that's easy, $35 an hour with 120 per diem and stuff. And I'm not saying that they're not, but they're not. And but it sets unrealistic expectations. You get kids right out of school, and I mean, this every industry faces. I'm sure you guys see it as you look to hire. Is everyone is looking at the difference between what they can afford to do, what they want to do, what they can get paid to do. It's this lovely shell game of trying to stay alive and make a living. And so what we're trying to do is fill the niche in some of these small shops, because I'm sure. So Brett, for example, he's a single man crew, right? And so if he gets jobs coming his way, he can do one of two things. He can either pass on it, he can bid on it and wonder how the heck am I going to get it done, or he can try to hire someone in to help him as well. All of them have their own pros and cons. But what we try to do is help fill that gap of, do I have to hire someone new, or am I going to pass on a job? We want to help these small shops take the jobs, bid them, make them profitable. And then when it comes time to, I need more hands, or I need X, Y, and Z, that's where we can, whether it's our tools or other resources that we have, we can help them fill that niche. And so it doesn't, and once they do, 5, 10, 15 of these larger jobs, it makes sense to hire someone. But if it's that, first or second or third or fourth job that you're not sure, okay, do I hire someone on and then I don't have anything to do afterwards? That's kind of where we're trying to fill at least part of our niche right now.
Well, let me be the first one to tell you, I think the way that you set up that business is absolutely brilliant. To any time you can do it where you're not just jumping straight into the deep end is commendable, and that I think that speaks to your character, because they wouldn't, your owners of the big company wouldn't have done this if they didn't believe and trust you. So let me be the first one to tell you, good job. That I think that's fantastic. You worked your way up. You did it kind of a traditional way, and that's really cool. The other thing that I really kind of want to speak to was Joe. First couple of meetings, he said, "Here's what's crazy," and I looked around the room, and everybody was like, "Wait, what?" Your number one referral partner is going to be somebody that's in your own niche, and you guys are the gold standard. The metal guys are the gold standard, and even on a personal level, my brother is a fab shop as well. And it is kind of crazy after talking to all you guys. On the surface, you guys even look similar. Like if you guys were just all lined up, you would all fit right in together. You'd look like you're doing the same thing, but all four of you do something entirely different. And working together and passing that off. My brother, the comment that he made about Cody and Zane is, I could do a one-man band type shop that wanted to do residential. I could keep them busy with the stuff that I turned down. Mm-hmm. And immediately I was like, Cody and Zane, you're going to be at lunch. Landon, you're coming with me. Yep. Work this out. And then you came up, and I haven't learned much about Brett yet. He's relatively new, but you came up, and both Cody and Landon were like, oh no, we need to go talk to that guy. Mm-hmm. And so from my understanding, I really want to make sure that this is really crystal clear. Your ultimate goal, I know you'll do different things as stuff comes in, as we all do, but your ultimate goal is to actually stay in the shop. You want to produce the parts, and you have the tooling that these other guys, they can't afford being the small shops that they are. I want to grow that side of our business, yes. So definitely it is not as a whole, but that side I do want to grow significantly, yes, because like I said, I enjoy that aspect of it. It's more letting my machines. I enjoy tools in general, but my machines right now, they're still
this is the sad part. For me, they're brand new and gorgeous, but they're still about 10, 15 years behind the actual curve. But for me, they're new, right? So yes, I enjoy. So yes, is the short answer there is yeah, I'm growing that side of that business, growing that throughput, so to speak. So I'm not going to say it's less stressful, but it's a different type of stress. It's not having to deal with the end user, which
is the bane of your existence.
In a lot of cases, yes, we'll deal with that. You guys
the collaboration though is really cool.
It is,
and I didn't even until talking with you, I didn't know how deep that went between the metal guys. So it's super cool to see that. Yeah. Like that's awesome.
We're trying to grow that and figure out where it all works, because just like in every industry, I mean, we're all part of Blue Collar Connect, right? And it's also getting in. I've chatted with both. I mean, those are the two number names you keep throwing out, right? Because those are the two in our area right now. Good guys, solid guys, but now it's figuring out how we all function best together. It's weird because we don't work together, but we actually need to get to the point where we could work together to actually know where we all sit. So. Yeah. And figure out what their goals and stuff are too. So it's, because I could go, I mean, it's like any sales presentation. You can throw out all the information you want, right? You guys are in sales. I mean, and you could throw any information you want against people, but until you actually know what they care about and what their why is, it doesn't even matter what you can shoot the breeze all day long and it falls on deaf ears. But once you figure out what the why is, and some people don't have it, right? And sometimes you figure out that, okay, this one doesn't work the way we want it to. So where do we go from there? So that's where we're at right now, is trying to figure out. I know Cody, Brett, and myself, whenever we chat, there's a what's the word? A level of respect, because we know what we're all dealing with. And there's still a little bit of the filling out. It's like, okay, so what exactly are you doing? There's a little hesitancy. I mean, and that's business in general. And that's one of the areas of business I don't like, is there's the scarcity mindset. And I have to remind myself anytime I deal with other metal workers, whether it be these two or any of the others that I deal with on a regular basis, that you have to really switch the mindset from scarcity mindset to a plethora mindset. Is we're not chasing the same pool. We are all in different areas. We're all in different levels, different. It's that.
And
mindset
even if you were chasing the same pool, there's so much work out here for everybody. Like there's literally one person can't service everyone. It's impossible.
No, like our industry is what's interesting is there's a couple of people that get it and there's a couple of people that really don't. But we couldn't possibly service the entire demand for water treatment.
Right.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
We would have to absorb that all the people in the water industry aren't servicing all of the demand for it. There's stuff coming up all over the place, So we have these conversations with people like at the expos and stuff, is like the collaboration is where it's at. Like, why shouldn't we work together? We offer something a little different than you offer. And if my customer wants what you offer, then here you go. But if your customer wants what I offer, and
here I am.
Some people really get it and they're on board and they see the collaboration, how it can really, we both rise together, right?
Yeah.
Rising, what's the saying?
Rising tides raise all ships.
Raise all ships. So it's interesting how some people's mindsets are like, nope, that's my competition. It's scarcity. I can't, and it's just, if that's what you think you're going to get, then that's exactly what you're going to get. So mindset's huge.
Yep.
Thanks for touching on that, because that's
kind of mental. Sorry.
Well, and to piggyback on top of that, I'm doing a lot of personal development right now, and literally with Kate Strung, and she's like a 7, I think, personality tests that she kind of weaves into this. Anyway, the whole point of it is the whole adage of you've got stuff you're good at and stuff you're bad at. And if you focus on the stuff, which is the age-old adage, focus on what you're bad at and get better at it. And she's saying, no, don't do that. Find what you're good at, sprint down that path, and hire out anything you're not good at.
Right.
And if you're really good in your area of genius, one, it's easy for you. And easy is it's a relative thing. It's not like we're not trying to work or anything like that. But, there's certain things. Talking on a podcast, this is a skill, right? And I enjoy the crap out of this.
Yeah.
If I bring, to throw him under the bus, Russ on here, he's going to be sweating bullets the entire time just because the camera's on there.
Oh, he would.
He's told me that about 15 times.
You get him talking, he'd be fine. He would forget.
That's what I tell him.
That's what people don't understand. Like, you forget this is
start
on,
talking.
and we just.
I mean, I just barely lectured you for 10 minutes off the rip there, and then you guys didn't say a thing. So once you start talking, it comes pretty clean. So
Russ, you can come on. Okay, that's what we've determined here.
I forget you got to make eye contact, Russ. Right there.
There.
There you go.
Oh man, but no, it's cool, and really, what to kind of put a bow on all that. What you guys are all figuring out is you do have niches.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting from us on the outside look, because I didn't know that.
Mm-mm.
I had no idea. But then once Joe said that, I went, wait, what? And then happenstance is we've had you guys on. I've talked to the welding crew a little bit more than anybody else.
Just a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. And he, it was great learning all the, and then it literally back-to-back conversations, one with him and one with my brother, and like the equal and opposite. They were a perfect little pair together. And then both of them were talking about you, and you were like, I judge a lot because I know my brother inside and out, right? And he's like, hold on. What has he got? He's got what? Does he have this, X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, I don't know. I've got his phone number. He's like, I need to talk to him. I really need to talk to him because finding the big machines that do this stuff, they're rare or expensive.
The access to them is the best way to phrase it. The access to them. Yeah, there we go. The access to them is definitely limited right now.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, for all of you guys to work together, I think it's fantastic. And you do set the gold bar for everybody else.
It goes into the who, not how set of like you said, you focus on the 20% of the stuff that you really like and you're good at and you're genius at. And then you're helping these other guys fulfill their 20%, and everybody, it just keeps going full circle until the 100% is met.
Yeah.
And I like that. Being able to have access to that in this group has been pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. We're still, like I said, just trying to figure it all out, but and I'm hoping I can apply kind of, because like I said, I deal with other fab shops too, and it's kind of fun. And maybe this is why I enjoy it, is because right now, as we produce parts for other projects, is I can be like, hey, you know that one project, I built that, or okay, I helped with it, but who cares? And so, like right now, we're dealing with a shop out of North Salt Lake that's doing structure / sculpture for something up at the U of U. It's some weird pipe Eiffel Tower looking thing. I don't exactly know what it is. The big strokes are, but at the end of the day, it's going through our pipe laser, right? We're cutting the tube for it, and at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, we built that. We didn't, but we built that, and you can say, it adds to your little list of you guys. I don't know, do you have kids? If you have kids, so my kids love it whenever we're driving past something and they're like, oh, hey, my dad helped build that or whatever, and all that. Pretty
cool, actually.
It's fun, right?
Pretty
and so
cool.
in your guys' world, hey, we've done that house, this neighborhood, X, Y, and Z. And so with this part production aspect, I have a lot more range, and it's not just these projects. I can touch more. Like, hey, you see that over there? We cut that material, or we did what? That might be part of it.
It's fun, to be able to be like, we did the Muscles house up above Lagoon, that big monstrosity.
Okay, yeah,
and it's cool. My kids will be like, look at that, and I'm like, yeah, I put the water in there. I've been in there a couple times.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Also, I think we all like to admire where our work is.
Oh yeah.
But this is a truly unique, special thing that welders do. I've gone on now over the last 5-6 years, go on trips with my brother, and we went to Chicago. But my sister she was graduating from med school, and so the whole family went out there. Dude, walking through Chicago, and he's telling me, oh yeah, look at this beam. This beam right here had to be boat over. There's only one place in the world that can make this beam. And I'm like, dude, we've been staring at the same bridge for 45 minutes. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Look at this. Look at all of this stuff. One day I'm
touching the backside of the handrail, like, ugh, God.
Yeah. If you ever want your dream shattered, just go with a welder to any location. The only place, and is I've been told, the only place that actually has cared about what their welds look like is Disneyland. I've been told by engineers and designers and other welders that that's one of the few places that people care what their welds look like. And so I haven't visited. It's expensive and I'm cheap. And so I've never made the effort, but I've had friends go and they're like, yeah, I actually went out of my way to try to find bad welds. Like, and there's a difference between, fantastic, good, horrible. There's different levels of it all. And for most welders, you'll let good to decent welds pass without a comment, but anything less than decent is instant flags. And my wife hates traveling with me for that very reason. But
it's a thing. It's
really
a legitimate thing. The welders, you can't take them anywhere.
No, you can't.
I'm not even a welder, but I've done some, filled fab, and I used to have a freaking arc welder on the back of my service truck. So
yeah. You're one of those guys.
I noticed it also.
You're a service truck welder. Okay,
well,
that explains.
yes,
okay,
yeah.
You're instant judging. I'm just letting you know.
That's great. That's great. I do water now.
Yeah,
not related at all.
Well, depends on how you want to look at it. I don't know.
Not even being a fabricator, and I still notice like, oof, man, that's got a flock of birds flying over this.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a big pile of bird shit on here.
It is. I wonder. You said Disneyland. For as skeptical as I am of Disney at the moment, I wonder. And I'm getting this from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Cody and Zane, one of their big things when they're doing residential stuff, which was the opposite of what Landon was saying that he wanted to do, was the attention to detail to make sure that every surface could be touched by a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that is the reason why Disney does that. That would be a point of like,
is it a Disney?
Kudos.
Is it a Disney standard or
just the builders?
Somebody who really cares and set a standard.
So, yes. So any weld job, the overall ending quality is a combination of both the customer as well as the one performing the work. As horrible as it sounds right now, a lot of the standards that are being set are price-based standards. And so, and Zane and Cody will be the first to tell you that some people don't want to pay for good work, and it pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
It really irritates me that you'll go to bid a job and you're like, okay, my rates are this, and this. My quality expectations are this, and this. And their first response, and I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, is, "Oh, can you do it cheaper?"
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, and you're as a fabricator, as a professional, you have one of two choices, right? You can say, "Yes, I can do it for cheaper," but at what cost?
Mm-mm.
Or you just say no and you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, especially as you're starting a small business, and you can't say no as much as you want to. And that's one of the most frustrating things that it might be the mindset change.
But that's what I was going to touch on. It really is a mindset change, because now I've like set a standard, like it's on my website. Like, I'm not for everybody, and that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with it. And if I'm not for you, it's probably for the best that we don't work together.
Here's the hard question though, is what's your gray area?
Right.
Because there is always
there is always a gray area.
We always want to. We always am I paying? Am I growing my business, or am I keeping it afloat?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's where things really get tough. And I know Joe's business coach. I've had other coaching, and I took business classes up at college, and so you have all these different people pummeling into your head, right? They're like, "Oh, if do this, and this," and it's that mindset change. To realize, okay, at what point, what are my hard no's and my hard yeses? And occasionally there is some gray that trickles through.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you're sacrificing your quality, but what's changed. So for example, in the weld world, your question is it set by is it Disney or is it the welders, right? So that one I can almost guarantee it was the owner, so Disney or whoever they hired, would probably set the standard. And so at that point in time, welders had to rise up to that standard there. In other situations where the client just kind of says, okay, I just want it all stuck together. And then it's the welder's determination at that point in time to be like, okay, am I doing my A+ work, which costs me this? Am I doing my B work, And everyone always says that I'm always doing my A work, right? Or A plus, whatever. And 92% of the time, I believe that. Other times it is, okay, I need to get this job done to get to the next job. And I find myself dealing with that too. And I think everyone does. And it's that the difference, I'm not special, but the difference is I realize, and I will admit that I find myself doing it at times. Not that I'm consciously making this decision to be like, okay, I'm not doing my best work right now. It's like, okay, this has to get done now. This has to get out the door now. What's fallen by the wayside? Maybe I don't polish this last weld quite as good as I need to. And the ability to realize that, hey, that actually is happening. It allows that gray area that I asked you. That's kind of in my head. That's the one that's always fluctuating. Everything I shoot for is A plus. Okay. And I try to make sure that disseminates across the guys I'm in charge of. I have 4 welders right now that I'm have in my shop, and I push that. Okay, this is our A plus work. This customer doesn't want to pay for A plus work. We need to keep you guys busy. We are going to do the best we can, exceed expectations. But at the same time, if that means that, hey, maybe this one weld we don't grind out and redo, it's still completely fine. Well, it's good. Yeah. It's not great. It's good, but it's not crap. It's then realizing what those limits are. And like I said, I'd be surprised if you go talk to 100 professionals out there, and maybe this is where I'm wrong. But if you ask 100 different professionals, hey, do you ever send out work you're not completely satisfied with? 99 of them are going to say never, ever, ever, right? And I could be wrong, but I feel like that's where we, as business, I'm going to use the word owners. I'm not people who are running businesses, have to realize that you have to acknowledge that sometimes it's not 100%. Is that because it was bad work? No, it's because we were doing the best we could in the situation we had. Mm-hmm. And how can I improve? How can I improve? Situation improve, contractually improve, so that the next time this one comes up, it will be 100%. And I'm not saying ever send out shoddy work. That's I'm going to clarify that. Never ever send out bad work. But every so often, when you're faced with, okay, I got to keep my guys busy, I do have to make money. At what point in time do you am I the deciding factor, or is the customer the deciding factor? And that's the thing that really irritates me about metalwork right now, is the customer is essentially, at least in the realm I'm in, and that's going back to where we're at, is the customer sets the standard. As long as we are meeting or exceeding that, it's okay. I don't like that, but that's kind of where some of it sits right now. And I'm rambling, and I don't know where to go with that. But other than the fact that Disney, they probably set the standard, and it had to be met by welders. Because no one cares anymore, it's now becoming the other way. It's all about the price, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, my linear foot per rail. Like, so for example, we're doing some railing down in St. George. I think, if I remember correctly, we're about $150 a linear foot for this rail. We went and chatted with a few home builders here locally, and they're like, yeah, we're pricing out the market, and we need to be closer. We're looking for about $90 to $95 a linear foot. You're shaking your head like, well, that's impossible, right? And yeah, that's your knee-jerk reaction. That's a little more than half my current cost, right? So, and so then it's up. So, and when I asked them, okay, so that's your number. Okay, so let's go look at some of your houses that you've put up. And we went on some walkthroughs and looked at the railing that were being done. And as a knee-jerk reaction, as a metal worker, as a professional, my first thought was to kind of crap on the work that was in the building. Right? It's like, okay, those welds, they're not great. They're fine. They're not great. This piece of metal is warped a little bit where the heat pulled. Just go through the little checklist of things that I try to mitigate whenever I'm doing it. And my first, like I said, my knee-jerk reaction is to kind of just be like, bagging on those guys and be like, oh, they didn't do a good job. But then I remember the conversation I just had with these same guys saying, hey, we need this to be at $90 a linear foot. And you realize that this welder who did this piece here might be as good, if not a better welder than I am. But what is he doing? He's making money. He's making a satisfied customer. Mm-hmm. And that's not the shop I want to run. But that being said,
you've got to make money.
Got to make money. You got to run a business. You have people who depend on you. You got to pay their wages and their salary, all that stuff. And if it's it's tough. And that's one of the best words I have right now is it's a tough environment to be in because you have an expectation. There's a few lucky guys that I know that they started 10, 15 years ago, developed a fantastic clientele, and they're able to spend hours in the shop perfecting a specific process because
their clients will pay for it.
Exactly. And at no point in time would I ever go like, hey, I want to go steal your client by offering better pricing, because first off, that's not cool, for lack of a better word. Second off, their clients appreciate what they're doing for them, and their expectations have now met up, and they're a great fit for one another. But right now, the market, housing market, especially where there's a lot of railing right now, right? That's kind of one of the biggest metal march right now is it's all about how cheap can you make it without killing anyone.
Yep.
And I really don't like it.
That media, the metal, the railing is just so popular too right now. The new modern look.
Mhm.
Everybody wants the metal railing, but they don't want to pay for it again.
Exactly. So that got a nice segue here. So that's so how do you get your expectations, your quality control in place, and still be able to, I'm going to say, turn it out at a good rate? That's where computers and technology kind of come into play a little bit more. People are expensive. Machines are initially expensive. They get cheaper the more they run, right? And so that's what we invested in 2 lasers, a flat laser 5x10 area, and then a tubing laser, which for those of you that don't know, they're fun. Google it. We have one of the cheaper versions, but it still works well for what we got. And so what it does is it front loads the design side. And then, but once you get your design done, you can push it out to the machine that does all the cutting and accuracy that's built into it. So right now when we do railing, I joke around saying we threw away all of our tape measures out of the shop, because we design it to essentially be a big Lego set. Is we cut it out. Most everything's tapped and slotted. So the guys will set their first picket, make sure it's square to our work table, and they just start clicking pieces together. At the end of a run, they throw a diagonal measurement on it to make sure it's square, and they weld it out and call it a day. So what we're trying to do at Callus, and every welder everywhere, is trying to figure out how to maximize your time and your inputs to maximize productivity that then maximizes profit. That being said, will we still charge $150 a linear foot per rail? Yeah, I mean, if we feel the values in it, but that also allows a gateway to entry on the productivity side. Your brother, you said his entire shop is a jig. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to do, and that $90 a linear foot. And again, I'm just throwing that out. May not be exactly, but if we use that as a reference, it's doable in the right situations. And what you have to do is figure out processes, tooling, and people that are able to not chase the number for the number's sake, but to chase the best product for that number. Mm. And that's kind of where we're at right now in our shop on our railing side. We do a lot of other stuff, but when it comes to railing, we do have our kind of our gold standard stuff, the stuff that if a customer wants to pay for, we can do. But we also are like, okay, so then we have our production or our home builder type thing where we're not sacrificing any integrity of the material or of the final product. We're not sacrificing any functionality or effectiveness of it, but we're trying to figure out how to streamline our processes so that if a customer comes to us and says we need X, we can say, okay, we can't do X, but we have Y and Z here that are close to that. Our gray areas are diminished because we know exactly what our Y and our Z are going to be. And so that way we then leave it up to the customer to decide, okay, if I'm chasing X over here, I'll go find someone who can make X. There's people working off the back of their trucks right now that can, they have no overhead. They can make it work for X. But making sure that our offerings, the Y and the Z offerings, are as good as we can make them in the category, for lack of a better word, that we're making them in. And that's where we invested into the machines that we got, is to increase productivity, decrease total time, which then increases our potential for profits, as well as just the potential for our market to be a little bit bigger, because it allows for that little bit of overhead, what's the word? The repeatability to actually become a measurable number at that point in time. And also those passing it on to the other metal fab shops of the world where where we can help them hit that same point where it's like, hey, this is your product. It always is going to be your product. Let's help you make it the best you can for the price you have to hit. I hate that mental shift that we have in the world right now, but there are price points. No longer can you say, hey, I built this for you. Now give me money based off that. It's no, this is what the money is.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you have to build it to. Let's make that happen and make it happen in a way that we're actually proud of, where that gray area of, do I take the job and not necessarily be happy with it, can kind of just go away a little bit. It's like, okay, I know I can do it for this. I know my quality is this at this point. And whether or not we're hitting it, I don't know. But as far as whether we're fulfilling my mental goal of being able to help both ourselves and other fab shops do it. But that's the goal, is to help people realize that, hey, we can do it for this price without sacrificing everything else. Triad Peaks did a great job. They did a video here recently of talking, I'm trying to remember how they phrased it. But starting with the design, how did they phrase it? Because you might have to help me out on this if you remember the clip they posted. They were talking through how they start with the design, maximize their material usage, and I might have to cut that one because I can't remember exactly what it was. But I don't want to put words. I don't want to put words in their mouth. But it is the ability to kind of start with the big picture and work backwards from there and make sure you're hitting your mark. Whether it's profitability, whether it's consumption, whether it's customer satisfaction, you work from there. I said, I can't remember what it was, so that one you'll have to cut, so I don't sound like I'm putting words in people's mouths.
You're okay. No, that's really cool, man. It's like anything else. It's just there's certain trades and whatnot. For the outside, and I would imagine this is something you guys deal with your customers. Well, it's just welding. You just stick it together and put it together. It's not a big deal. It is a lot. And one of the downfalls that you have is even before you do anything, the material itself is very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people really understand what steel actually costs.
Yeah. Right.
And so,
or how difficult it is to find an angle.
Oh yeah.
Go try to do it.
Calculate an angle. No, one of the things that I find, material cost is huge. And what I find entertaining, I use the word entertaining and not frustrating. We'll say entertaining, is when someone comes to you and like, oh, so this metal sign, right? They're like, I or whatever it is, can you make it for me? And you're like, yeah. So just off the cuff, that's, $20 a material or whatever it is. And they're like, okay, so you're only going to charge me $20 for it. And
what?
You're like, no, that's not quite how it works. Well, I looked on Etsy and I can order a sign off Etsy for $20. So you should be able to make it for $20.
You should order that sign.
I've used that phrase more times than I care to admit. Once upon a time, I used to, you'd chase every single job, every single penny. And so it's like, oh, I can find out on Etsy for this. And so that's why, okay, well, if you can find out on Etsy for that, I should be able to make it for that, right? And it's not the way you can run it. And so
we run into that too. We run into,
I can buy this on Amazon.
A water softener only costs $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, that's the crappiest water softener you could buy, undersized for your situation,
mm-hmm.
and it's not doing exactly what you want it to do. So good luck. You should get that, and then you should install it yourself,
mm-hmm.
and then call us when it.
Yeah.
When you flood your basement.
Let me know.
Yeah.
We'll be here when you need us.
Yeah.
No, it happens but it's every walk of life. It doesn't matter what it is. Take an example, marketing,
mm-hmm.
right? Oh, the pricing, Scott and I did that before, and everybody wants everything for free.
Mm-hmm.
The value for it of the skill is just not there. And then AI now there really is no value for it.
No.
But then you need leads. So, it's got to figure the balance there as well.
It's a fun time, isn't it? Where you have to figure out, and that is what's frustrating in every walk of life is you have your price, you have what it costs and all that, and you need to make sure that the value is there. Because, and let's be honest, in the metal world, it doesn't matter if I buy steel from Reliance or from Triple S or from Wasatch or from PDM or from Pacific or from any of these other vendors, because of the structure in place, all that steel is essentially the same thing. Right. And then that material goes to the different shops where we all cut it, we all shape it, we all weld it, we all do whatever. And at the end, it's the same thing. It's a rail, right? It's this thing, and you got to realize, what am I doing to this to actually add the value that I'm asking the customer to pay for, and that's where it gets tough, because you're like, okay, so he's welding, I'm welding. Okay, what's the difference? Okay, he's cutting, I'm cutting. What's the difference? He's using a chop saw, I'm using a laser. And those at the end of that final rail, no one necessarily cares how it gets there, right? It's a metal rail, yippee. My cost is one way, his will be another way, and it's like, okay, if mine's less, why is it less? Am I missing something that I shouldn't be? Or if mine's more, why is mine more? What am I providing differently than XYZ over there? And that's where it gets tough, when you have to make those changes. Like you said, someone can get it off Amazon. Good for them. Is it the same thing? No. Where's my value? Okay, my value is, and I know that my product is a better one. You can back that up with whether it be pamphlets or the science behind it. But let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, people don't read your pamphlets. So, okay, my pamphlet isn't my value added. Okay, what is my value added? Okay, is it the fact you can call me up? Hey, look, I have accessibility. If there's something wrong, there's let's harp on that a little bit. In one of the blue collar meetings we had, you were talking about, hey, I want everyone to know the science behind why our water is better. And I love I can't remember if it was you or one of the other participants who pointed out that they to help prove that value, like a test strip, a before and after test strip, something that literally shows a customer what value you're bringing to the equation is huge. And it can be tough in the service industry where no one sees that metal being processed. No one cares about it. They just show up at their house and, hey, look, I got a metal rail. Woo! And so that's where it gets really tough at times to be like, okay, this is the value added that we bring. The general contractor you're working for might see it. They might, they're always on time. They deliver. They meet my expectations and all that. But at the end of the day, when so-and-so moves into their nice new shiny house, that is probably going to fall over in 5 years, because that's building nowadays. And if you're a home builder, I apologize. That was not a general statement. It was just, proving a point. But it's figuring out how you can help your end users see the value. And it's tough, because where you're not actually dealing with the end user. And maybe that's one reason I want to kind of step out of that world a little bit. Let's help you. And because if I send parts to a customer, that they can see the value added.
Yeah.
But again, their end user isn't going to see that value added. So it's a trade-off. It's weird.
Dude, I think we could go down these rabbit holes all day long. But we are I got one more question I really want to get to as we kind of draw this down. So metal is a little bit, you've been around the metal game for a while. And I heard a little rumor that you even know how to forge.
What's forge?
Forging?
Like checks?
Yeah, well.
So yeah. So I mentioned I started at Jones 9 years ago, 9 years ago. So before that, I was up in Logan. I went to school up there, graduated, I think. I can't remember. And so at the time I had gotten married, I had my first, big kid job, for lack of a better word. I was in a little lab at the company I worked for. We made sensors to measure lasers, not laser measuring, but sensors to measure lasers. That's a whole other rabbit hole. It's kind of interesting stuff. And so I was stuck in this little lab about 4 foot by 6 foot test. So I'd been in this little area. And when I was choosing a major up at school, I didn't really choose one. I'd choose what I didn't want to do. And I just sat down with my counselor and opened up a book and was like, hey, here's all the majors that you can do. It was a big old, literally said it there. I'm like, okay, so I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. And it was a process of elimination led me to my major is ag systems and communication with an emphasis in agribusiness. And the only reason I say that is because I stumbled on that because I didn't want to ever sit behind a desk. I didn't want to have to deal with people too much. I didn't want to have to, be stuck inside. And at the time, the job I had was literally being stuck in this little 3x4 lab, maybe 3x6, I don't know. And so I was going through, I don't know. I was just tired of it. And so I started looking for hobbies. I've always had different hobbies. I've always done metalwork, woodwork. I've always had stuff going on. And so I'd get bored. And so I started, I had an engineer at that company who I went and was chatting with. And he had this nice new, 3D modeling software. And I see him, he's designing a knife on his computer. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You're being paid a lot of money to design stuff for the company and you're designing knives. That's cool. Have you ever built one? And his answer was like, no, it's expensive. I asked someone once how much it would cost and they wanted a couple $100 to do a custom knife. And at the time, I have always enjoyed knives. I've loved knives. Growing up, I would always doodle swords and stuff. I like the way the light and stuff bounces off. I've always enjoyed them. But I never really thought about making them in that sense. And when someone's like, when he said, oh yeah, it's only a couple hundred, someone wanted a couple $100 to make a knife, my first knee-jerk reaction was, no way, that's ridiculous. That's expensive. And I could probably make it for less than that. And he's like, oh, could you? I'm like, well, let's find out. So I started diving down that rabbit hole. So this was 13-ish years ago. And so I started researching how to make knives, doing the forums, all that good stuff. And started off by building a little charcoal forge in my backyard out of an old Weber Bell charcoal
Grill.
Thank you. That's the word. Charcoal grill. And a hair dryer for the bellows to pump the air through. And so I started figuring out how to make knives and figuring out what that was. And on the surface, it's like, oh, you just make a knife. But like any good hobby, you deep dive into it. And so I started doing that. And about a year into figuring out this knife thing, I came across a history show series, Forged in Fire. Woohoo! No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, Forged in Fire. It's a fun TV show. And when I first started, I'm like, oh, that'd be fun. It's a contest. I like competition. I'm one of 8 kids. Grew up in a small rural Utah area. Competition is life. And if it's something you enjoy doing. And so I started making knives and playing with it. So forging and all that stuff. And a few years, would have been 2018 or 2019. I went ahead and submitted an application online to go on Forged in Fire because why not? Right? What are the chances? And I actually got invited to be on the show. So yes, I know how to forge a little bit. I tell people that just being on the show doesn't mean you know anything because I don't know much, and they let me on. So that's saying something. But so yeah, I make knives. In case you guys haven't got where I'm going with this, is I also make knives as a side hobby. As long as it's not interfering with other things. So,
you can't just go that fast. Come on, man. Tell us what it was like. You going on the show? Tell us about the experience.
All right. So yeah. So it would have been, for those of you that have free time, season 7, episode 7. The Musketeer's Rapier was the name of the episode I was on. And I tell people it was a fun experience. And so how much time do we have? Okay. So yeah, as a whole, one thing I will say is, as far as reality TV goes, this is my only experience actually doing it. So I don't know how real other reality shows are. But for those that are curious, Forged in Fire, as far as I am aware, I can speak for my episode, no other episodes, and all that good stuff. It was actually a straight up competition between 4 bladesmiths. There was no ifs, ands, or buts, no little magic, no producers issues that I'm aware of. You don't know what you don't know. But yeah, so what happened is, so they call us out, and the flight out there was a pain. So it was filmed up in Connecticut. I can't remember the name of the town offhand, but so I was supposed to fly from Salt Lake down to Dallas Fort Worth, from Fort Worth out to LaGuardia. So from here to Fort Worth was fantastic, no issues. Got up in the air, headed towards LaGuardia, and after about 3 hours in the air, the pilot's, there's a storm over New York, so we're in standby. And so we were up there puttering around for a minute and a couple hours, and then like, okay, we got a continuation, and so we started going again. By this time, latrines are already full and all that good stuff, because it was only supposed to be a 4-hour flight or whatever. But we were in the air, it felt like, for 5-6 hours, and then we got put in holding again. So we were up there doing donuts up in the sky. Someone below ground was complaining about the teenagers up in the sky doing donuts in the parking lot and all that stuff, and so they eventually routed us down to Virginia. I can't remember the name of the airport offhand, but so they put us down in an airport down in Virginia. We sat on the tarmac for another 2-3 hours. By the time the air circulating is already nasty, and then finally got to go ahead and go up to LaGuardia. And so I was supposed to meet the company driver or the crew driver I think at about 7:00 up in New York, along with the other guys that were flying in. I think, if I remember correctly, we landed in New York at 12:30.
Oh,
I around then. And then I then had to get an Uber from the airport up to the hotel up in Connecticut. So that was another about an hour drive. So I'm rolling up to my hotel at about 1:30. Haven't had dinner. So I found I think Domino's delivered. So that finally so about 2:00, 2:30, I'm actually having dinner, getting ready for bed. And the party bus was meeting us out front at 6:30.
Oh,
geez. So the whole start was very, yeah. So I got 3 hours, and you know how it is when you don't want to sleep through an alarm. And so I had like 4 alarms set.
It's not good sleep.
Not good sleep. And every half hour you're jerking awake. Like, did I miss it? Especially when you're exhausted and you know it. And so it was extremely stressful. 3-4 hours of interrupted sleep for that. But so needless to say, I made it downstairs. We got to the set. The 3 other Smiths that I met were great guys. They took us and put us in a room about half the size of this one. It felt half the size, maybe just because there's more furniture. The green room, I think, is what the industry term is. So we were just shoved in the green room, and we got there around 7 is where we started. And so it just turned into interview after interview. They pull you in one at a time, doing all the, if you've watched the show, how they all the clips and everything. And so they pull you in for the interviews, the who are you, the what has you, all this stuff. And then finally about noon, so we've been about 4 or 5 hours in this little room. And as far as, you don't know how much 4 grown men have to pee until you have to be escorted out to the bathroom all together, because it's a competition where money's on the line. There's stringent rules in place governing those. And so there can be no sense of favoritism, no advantages given, any of this stuff. So if any one person had to go to the bathroom, we would all have to go. If anyone stopped to talk to anyone along the way, we'd all have to stop. If you saw any of the judges, for our episode, we had we had Doug, Dave, and Jay Nilsson, and then the original host. I'm trying to blank on Will Willis. Yeah, so those are 4 guys, and so we were kind of steered away because they're all doing their cakes and all their stuff happening at the same time, and so we had to be we were shepherded around by so it was kind of hilarious because the producer, or whatever the name they had for that was in charge of us there, was this little, I don't never ask, but very early 20s, young little girl walking around 4 relatively burly guys escorting us to the bathroom trailer and back into the room, and it was humorous to say the least. And so I want to say right around 1, so about 1:00 is when okay, we are now going to do the reveal of what your challenge is going to be. So they lined us up. We do the walk-in. You have us all stand by our anvils there. Like, okay, cut. Let's do it again. So then you walk back out, and they had to film the entrance 4 or 5 times or whatever. And they're every time like, okay, pretend it's your first time coming in. Act like you've never seen it before. And so we're sitting there standing by our anvils, and about the 4th or 5th time we were doing this, we were standing there. And then all of a sudden Will starts talking up front there, and we're like, and all of us, our anvils were like, okay, are we going to cut or not? And he kept talking. We're like, oh, apparently this is happening. So he did the reveal for our episode. It was I think they called it fossil Damascus is what they wanted us to do, which is essentially you have a whole bunch of cuts and off pieces of other Damascus patterns that you need to put into a canister with powdered steel and actually make a canister Damascus knife out of it. And so he did the reveal, and then he pulls it off. He's like, okay, here's what you're going to do, and cut. So it builds the anticipation, and then you cut, and then they put us into our little green room where then everyone came in, the producers, the judges, and it was like 10 people in this little room. And they pulled out the contracts, went through everything, making sure that we all heard and understood the rules and all this stuff. And then we had to sign it. And then they're like, okay, so we're going to do another entrance. The forges are lit this time. We're going to do another entrance, it's your first time coming in. And then we're going to, we might say cut at some point in time, and we'll see where we go. And so we go back in, and they do the reveal again. And Will's like, okay, and go, or whatever it was. And so we had already filmed the initial, start like 2 or 3 times. Right. And so he said, go. The 3 other guys start booking it towards the center area. I'd turn over, got my safety glasses, put it on. And there was about 15, 20 seconds in that everyone was like kind of like stopped because we were anticipating another cut, right? And so we're all just kind of like waiting there. Then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we're 30 seconds in. No one said stop yet. It's 40. Oh, I guess we're going at this point in time. And so, and this is where like I defend the show. Some people have different opinions. So for the next 3 hours time they gave us, it was 3 hours to make a knife. There was no, they once about every hour they would, and you had your own camera guy following you in your face, which made working a little bit interesting. And you're very self-conscious. Anytime you do anything, you're like, oh, well, how does that look on camera? How does that look on camera? You're always worried about it. And so, and I got to give credit to the camera guys. Like they were, you'd be grinding. They'd be in a place where sparks were just hitting them, but they're just sitting there just staring down the camera. Props to them. They were all about the shots. Right. And so, yeah, it was kind of funny because we were all expecting that to stop and it never came. So we're like, oh, I guess we're going. And so, for those 3 hours, we had one. Like, so while you're working, the producer will come up with that camera interface. Hey, what are you doing? Where are you at? How do you feel? And I actually got in trouble because later on towards the end of it, I had my knife in the forge getting ready for heat treating where the temperatures you're doing need to be a little bit more exact. And so and they grabbed me right at that point in time, like, hey, we have some questions for you. And I'm like, okay. I answered a couple of the questions. I'm like, I'll be right back. Ran over, grabbed my knife, pulled it out. And they're like, and so the next day when we were talking about a few other things, like, just please make sure that if we're asking you questions, just take your time and answer the questions, please. I'm like, that's my bad. But for those 3 hours, you had 3 hours to make a knife. There was no camera magic. There was no nothing. All the competitors involved had complete everything exactly the same playing ground or whatever you want to call it. And so as far as reality shows go, I don't know how real that is in other aspects, but in Forge and Fire, your work time was your work time. You had 3 hours to make the knife. So we went through that. I could talk more about that, but it takes, I could ramble for a while. We'll do lunch one of these days and cover more. But so we built the knives at the end. So by the time we actually finished the knives, then we got shoved back in the room, had another about 3 hours of post interviews. So I want to say we got back to the hotel around 8:30 that day. So we'd been there from 7 to 8:30, stuck in this little room, had 3 hours of excitement. The rest of it was boring. So it was interesting. And then day 2 rolls around. I made it through to the second day where you take your knife and then you put a handle on it and they test it. Kind of the same deal. It was a little bit more straightforward. It was more of, I think we started that day at 8. We were filming around 10. We did the knife portion, which was only about, I think they gave us 2 hours for the handle portion, wrap for the day. And so there's only about a 5 to 7 hour day, that second one. And then the following day is when they actually did the testing of the knives, which played a part in kind of how I was doing it. I was getting down towards the end and I wasn't really happy with how my knife handle was. And I early on decided I don't care how this thing looks. It's just going to function. And so talk about gray areas. I had a massive gray area where this is what it had to be. This is what I want. And it was everything in between there was okay. And so they're counting down like 30 seconds and I had a paracord wrap among other things on my handle. And I'm like, I don't want it to unravel. So I took some super glue, put it on it. And one thing you can do with CA super glue is if you give it a little shot of water or baking soda, it'll actually set up like almost instantly. And so I took in, but with that, if you don't have the actual right product, it turns it a really milky white, nasty looking color. And so I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to test these right after we're done. So I need to make sure this is dried. So I spritzed it with some Windex. And so it set it, but it had the whole handle was this nasty, milky color. And come to find out I would have had all night for it to cure and everything. No. So because the testing wasn't until the next morning. And so it's like, oh, well, okay, it looks like crap anyway, but doesn't, you get to a point where you're okay, it has to function over form at this point. And so they tested the knives the next day. They did a sharpness test, a bone chop, apple slice. Those are the only two at this point in time. I think those were the two tests they did. With the strength one was a bone chop where they had a big old ham bone and they just whacked on it. And then they had an apple slice for the sharpness test. And just survived the bone chop just fine. The apple slice was kind of irritating because my grinds on my knife weren't symmetrical. And I blame Dave a little bit on this one, right? So, because they had a whole bunch of apples stacked up on a metal rail that they press the knife on and slice it across. And with mine, because it wasn't perfectly symmetrical, and he was right to point it out, it doesn't cut dead straight and it kind of flared up a little bit. So going across the apples, it cut like 2 or 3 pretty down the middle, but then kind of lifted up, which all he has to do is push down a little bit harder and it would have been just fine. So it's Dave's fault, not my knives. So it skimmed across the top. But the cool part was, and I've watched this episode more times than I should. I put it in slow motion. Even as it skipped across the top of the apples, it skinned like all the apples. So you zoom in, you see little green stuff popping up. So it's like it cut them, just not down the center of it. And so it was sharp. I was happy with it. And so past to day 2, I got into the finale, which the weapon reveal was for a musketeer's rapier is what they called it, which essentially is a European rapier. Was it between the 14th and 15th century? It's very wide parameters. There was never anything called a musketeer's rapier. It's just that's where they stuck in the category. And the irony of this is when I was chatting with my wife about this, is I haven't made very many swords. I've made some large knives. I've made a few things. I was like, I'd be good for any large weapon, as long as it's not something that requires a little bit of delicacy, like a rapier. And lo and behold, we get the rapier. So as the universe, like, ha ha, sucker type thing. So we fly home, uneventful. Thankfully, they actually flew. It was nice. I got to put on a show, fall asleep. It was great. And then so I flew home on Sunday. That next Monday is when they started the home forge session. So my garage wasn't adequate for it. So I actually leased out Wasatch Forge. They're a place here in Salt Lake, which if you guys are looking for a place to go forge, Wasatch Forge, look them up. They're awesome. They essentially leased me their forge for the 3 days. So they say, hey, you have 4 days, but what it boils down to is 35 hours. They cap it. You have 3 10-hour days and 1 5-hour day. And so I got to work on it. Again, a very large gray area. This is what I want. These are the requirements. Let's hit the requirements, and I can figure out. I'm relatively happy with how it turned out. I got to do it had a nice shell guard on top of it that looked kind of like dragon wings and stuff. It's on my Facebook somewhere. Feel free to look for it. But I was never completely confident with how heavy it was. It was beefy. And so we fly back out. It was Father's Day of 2019. Don't quote me on that. But so we flew back out for one more weekend. So this has been back to back to back to back. And they do the final filming, which they started off with it was me and Jesse was the other competitor who made it to the finale for our episode. And we felt a little bit naughty because we were told the rules that while you're working on your weapons, that you can't interact with one another. For only being around each other for 3 or 4 days, it was kind of cool how tight all 4 of us got. Being stuck in a little room, you had to make friends or kill each other one way or the other. And so so while we were building our weapons, we didn't communicate at all. But then once the producers packaged them and took them, and we kind of like, hey, what do you think? And so we started texting back and forth, which that was not against the rules. They made it clear it was only while we were working on it. And so we started sending pictures back and forth, and it was like, we're like, oh crap. Okay. I wonder. And so all the thoughts that play with you. And so, but we get out there and we look at each other's weapons. And then, for the testing, they started with the sharpness test, which in our case, where they had a whole pig hung up in there, which is kind of cool. And the only irritation that I have, and this is the only time I felt like producers had a say in the episode, is so Jesse went first. Doug grabbed his sword. He went to town. I think he cut like 4 or 5 times up one side. It's been long enough, but so he cut a bunch of slashes into it, stabbed it a handful of times, cut a few more, and after about 6 or 7 actual cuts, cut the pig in half. Cool. It fell down. It's pretty sweet. And then they got to my weapon. They took it and they started slashing, and after about 4 or 5 slashes, I actually cut the pig in half completely.
Oh, wow.
And so they didn't actually stab any of it. I remember, like, as we're watching it there, he's like standing back because the pig fell, and he's like talking his little earpiece to the producers. He's like, do I still stab it? And and so they cut there. And so if you go to, in the episode and even on YouTube, if you go look at the finale of it, there's no stabbing shown anywhere, because after this was a strength test where they bent both of our swords in a horrendous vice, 90 degrees one way and then the other. Mine actually ended up taking a little bit of a bend, and I can talk about that for why it did it. It didn't break. It just had a little bit of a bend in it. And at that point in time, the judges wanted to go on vacation, because after our episode was done filming, they had like 2 months off. And so I joke that the reason So after it had, because it was still usable, had a slight little bend in the blade, but at that point in time, they said, okay, we're done. Jesse, you win. Good for you. We're going home. And the reason I feel like they took out the stabbing of because Jesse's took more to cut.
Yeah.
Had some stabs, had a few more cuts, whereas mine would have appeared to have performed better because it cut it in half sooner. I'm not saying it. And so they eliminated any of the stabbing and made the actual performance look the same.
Yeah.
So that when they made their decision to go with Jesse's, because his didn't have a bend in it, there wouldn't have be any drama associated with it. But that's me speculating. Producers, if that was wrong, I apologize. That's my speculation. But yeah, so it's kind of humorous if you look at the comments on the YouTube video of that episode. It was like, I thought rapiers were stabbing weapons and they're not meant to cut, which again, a whole nother history lesson. Rapiers as a whole are more of a thrust-centric weapon made to stab more than cut, but they're still 3 pounds of sharpened steel. They will cut you very, very effectively. Yes, they're meant to stab. And so anyways, but there's a little bit of drama associated with that episode because there was no actual thrusting shown in the episode. So there were some, but that's the one thing that cut. And so there's the drama associated with reality TV right there, right? But yeah, it was a little frustrating. I don't like losing, and I hate. I think second is the worst place to ever take, in my personal opinion, because you're so close, and yet you still don't get there. This one was bad because second place, I essentially at this point in time, I had about 2.5 weeks of time invested in this, and you walk away with nothing.
Oh,
that was kind of frustrating. The winner got his 10 grand prize or whatever it was, 7.5 after taxes or whatever it was. But yeah, I was again chatting with my wife, and I just need to be careful what I tell her, because I told her I didn't necessarily want a rapier, and that's what we got. And I told her I didn't want to take second, because then you have all your time investment into it and walk away with nothing. First one out, great. You've lost a couple of days, you go home, call it a day. Third, kind of the same deal. Second, you invest everything and then don't get anything. So a little bit of frustration there, but it was a fun experience. Like that's what I tell people ultimately. It's like, yes, I'm bummed I lost. It makes for a good story. Like I said, it is one of my small claims of fame right now, the 15 minutes of fame type thing that I can kind of milk. I feel very similar to this though, as I do about high school, because I know some guys who all they can talk about is still high school. You're 40, 50, 60 years old and you talk about high school. Mm-hmm. I know some bladesmiths who all they can talk about is being on Forge and Fire. You're like, hey, that happened 10 years ago. Dude, it's time to move on. Let's move. What's happened more exciting in your life since then that is no longer a hot topic for you?
Well, but in the same breath, I mean, that is the Super Bowl of knife making.
So from the outside looking in,
sure,
I agree with you. Yes. So to the general public, Forge and Fire is yes, it is and it's really kind of cool because what people here in Utah, we have had, I want to say that I know of personally, we've had, I think, 7 first place winners.
Oh, wow.
We've had a handful of second place. And if you don't make it that far, no one really cares where you come from, right? But so Utah actually has a really solid bladesmith community. And that's one of those fun things that a lot of people, you don't know if you don't know, right? If you're not in the area. But no, it's a lot of fun to talk with other guys about it. And yes, I understand what you're saying. It's something that is a story, but if you look at it, and this is where I get my brain gets in trouble, is I think the show aired for 13 seasons. You had anywhere from, I think, 9 to 32 episodes a season. I'm just spitballing numbers. Each episode would have 4 contestants. And so the number has climbed quite drastically. Yeah. Like the first couple seasons, they were actually out. They were asking actual, the term is ABS, American Bladesmith Society, people to try to be on this show. Which is good. And some did, some didn't. There's, again, drama in the area of people who thought the show was the worst thing to ever happen to knives, and then people who think the best thing that ever happened to the knife making community. And by about season 4, maybe 5, what you started to see was people who saw the show who had gotten into knife making because of the show being on the show. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. It's just the way it was. And it started creating its own participants, right? Which is, I mean, for the show's sake, is fantastic in the knife world. But then what you started to see from, again, the outside looking in, and I can't say much because I happened to fit into this same kind of time frame accidentally. I didn't think I started making knives, and I found Forge and Fire. I didn't find Forge and Fire and started making knives. The time frame is the same, and I guess it really doesn't matter. But I always differentiate between those two. It's like, hey, I made knives.
You are an OG. I was here before it.
And then I found it. And so, but no, and so you see a lot of towards the end of because as far as I know, they're not making any more seasons. I quit watching around season 7, season 8 when my sister quit her Netflix account, or not, whatever account it was, and I too cheap to buy my own, so I kind of quit watching it. But started to see a little bit more gimmicky type stuff. A little bit, they started doing a lot of kind of tournament based things where it felt like they were searching for viewers at that point in time.
There's only so many knives that you can make out there.
Well, yeah, but what's your point? No, so what I wish they would have done, where they could have turned it. So the show was initially pitched to producers as Chopped for knife makers, and I don't know if you watch Chopped, the Food Network. I think it's Food Network, where essentially you give, and the difference is, and so what a lot of people wished would start to happen is it got to the point where, hey, you made a knife. I'm going to take this giant iron bowl and smack it against it and see if it breaks, which I guess is dramatic and entertaining for the public to see. Mm-hmm. But in the knife community, it's like, no, let's look at this differently. Let's make a knife for a purpose. Hey, I'm making a fillet knife right now. Now let's bring in so-and-so from Greatest Catch or one of these and let them test out the knife for that purpose there. This is kind of what the knife world wanted to see. They wanted, because I've had so many customers, and I know other knife makers have other customers and you get tired of answering the question, yes, this could cut through another knife if you wanted to. I could design this knife to do X, Y, and Z. It could cut through a car, but it's not going to do what you actually want to do. You want a hunting knife? You want it to skin and cut properly? I'll make you a knife to do that. But that's not going to be the knife you're going to take over and smash it against a window time and time and time again. And whereas the general public sees these knives, right, that are withstanding this abuse, and they're like, oh, can your knife do that? Yes, but that's not what I design my knives to do. It's very quintessential to, hey, if you want an off-road truck, go build an off-road truck. Yep. If you want a Ferrari, you go get a Ferrari. And knife is the exact same thing. You can make a catch-all knife, the Swiss Army knife, fantastic, love it. It does 20,000 different things, kinda. It doesn't do any one of them good, right? And that's as a custom knife maker, that's what we try to do, is make the knife do its job the best it can. A chef's knife, we're going to make it as hard and as narrow as we can within reason, so that it will cut vegetables the best it can for as long as it can. If you go and try to open a can with it, guess what's going to happen?
Dull it up.
It's going to dull or it's going to break. And could I make a knife that does both? Yes. But is it going to optimize any one of those areas? No, it won't. So no, that's the great opportunity, a great experience. It has mixed feelings at this point in time across the knife making community, myself included. But it was fun. It was a good story.
Did Doug say his catchphrase to you?
It will kill. Yeah, I believe he did.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
He also said,
"We'll kill."
Kill.
Oh, dang it! Put that on camera real quick one more time.
This knife will kill.
There you go. Love it. He also thought he was so funny when he's like, "Oh, are you ready, Teddy?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
I've only heard that how many different times in my life, but
ready, Dougie. Get to work.
Man, that's awesome. Man, Teddy, dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was wonderful getting to know you. This time flew by, but I'm sure we'll come up with other ways to get you back on here. But thanks for coming in, and you guys know the drill out there. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one.